You're listening to The Flickcast, a pop culture podcast about stuff nerds love. I am Chris Ulrich, and joining me, of course, Joe Dilworth. Hello, Joe. How are you today?
I am doing well. How are you, Chris?
I'm good. That was like the second attempt at starting the show. No one will ever hear that one, hopefully, unless you're a Patreon supporter.
Yes.
You can hear how badly I am at this, really.
Yeah.
We cut out all the bad parts so we can sound relatively good.
Which I'm sure everyone's going, you cut the bad parts? Huh.
Yeah. Wait. They must be really bad.
Wow. What are we listening to? Okay.
What are we listening to? What crap is this? No. Speaking of Patreon, we do have a Patreon. It's patreon.com/TheFlickcast. And you can also find us at where you find podcasts, like at Apple Podcasts and Stitcher and Google Podcasts and all those places, Spotify, et cetera, et cetera. And on the socials at the Flickcast, and then Joe is at What Joe Writes, and I am at Chris Yu. I always say that at the beginning now, in case someone tunes away, or just stops listening.
Sure.
So at least we got the informational portion of our show out of the way first, the important part, and then we can just get to the
we can start rambling. Yeah.
I don't know, rambling. I don't think of it as rambling. I think of it as discourse. Is that a word? Sure it is. Let's do that.
Discourse. I think of it as a free form. I don't know. I'm not even going to try. It's beat poetry. Yes. It's performance art. That's what it is.
Performative. Anyway. So yeah, a lot of stuff happened since last week. Since last we got together and talked about things. We had the Loki finale, season finale. Thank you.
Yes.
Not series finale. If you haven't watched the Loki season finale for all time, always, you should definitely go watch it before listening to this, because we're going to talk about it.
Absolutely.
And we also didn't get to No Sudden Move, the new Steven Soderbergh film that dropped on HBO Max a couple weeks ago, which is a fine example of a genre that I enjoy, which is noir. I like that kind of thing.
Yes.
And then we might get into some other, tangents as we do. But do you
I've
want to
watched
start
a
with
couple things here and there too. So.
Did you watch Gunpowder Milkshake?
I haven't watched it yet, and I want to. It looks really good, and it has a good cast. So
it does. Lena Headey, I love her. She's awesome. I like to think like 10 years ago, even she would have been the lead.
Yes,
maybe
absolutely.
more than 10 years ago.
Yeah,
I mean, she's the mom now, but
Yeah.
she's a badass. And was so good in Game of Thrones and got kind of wasted in that show towards the end. But that's a whole nother discussion.
Yeah.
But yeah, I enjoyed Gunpowder Milkshake. My only criticism, and we can talk about it after you watch it, but my only kind of criticism of it, it's like one of those things where the director is trying to be too slick, if that makes sense. It's like we talked about with Army of the Dead. It's like he's trying to be too stylistic. Just tell the story.
Yes.
You can just, you don't have to have so much slow-mo. You don't have to have so much of this and that. There was some really good parts of it. I enjoy Karen Gillan. I thought she did a good job.
Yeah.
Paul Giamatti, the little girl, I can't remember her name, unfortunately, but I should. She was really good. And, of course, Carla Gugino, who I love, is in it. Michelle Yeoh, a whole group of people. And my only other thing about the movie was that I didn't feel like the bad guys were particularly strong. But anyway, you watch it and we'll talk about it again.
I did watch Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard. That's a mouthful to say.
Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard, yeah.
And
with Samuel Jackson and Ryan Reynolds and Salma Hayek, and Salma Hayek's boobs.
Yes, and Morgan Freeman.
Of course, you can't forget Morgan Freeman. Yeah, I did not watch that, but I've seen the trailers.
I did not enjoy it as much as I enjoyed the first one. I thought the first one was pretty fantastic, and this one was okay.
Did you feel like they were kind of phoning it in for money, or no?
No. I don't feel like that, but I feel this one veered more towards cartoonish than the first one did, and it kind of missed.
Well, I'll watch it. We can talk about that.
Yeah, we'll do that. Yeah.
So one thing we're going to try to do on the show going forward is, we're going to watch stuff that's out there, and we're going to talk about it, but also maybe go back in time a little bit too and talk, because we want to do some segments maybe about old animated shows. We're talking because we were discussing Hanna-Barbera before the show, before we started recording this episode. We want to go back and talk about Hanna-Barbera. Cartoons from back in the day, and other stuff. And then maybe we'll do a show where Joe tries to convince me to love Doctor Who, but I don't know if that's a hill he wants to die on or not.
I don't know about loving Doctor Who, but I think I can bring you around to maybe liking it and or giving it a chance, unless you've already given it a chance and are like, yeah, it's not for me. But
No, we could talk about Doctor Who.
Well,
That's a topic for another day.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just want to, I like to just banter about shows, but Loki's ending now, and so we have What If coming up. And we can talk about What If for a second too.
Yeah.
I mean, people are complaining about the animation, how it doesn't look good. I thought it looked pretty good.
I thought it did,
also complaining about how all the cast is not from the Marvel movies. Some people they recast, like you mentioned, they recast Iron Man, Tony Stark. I'm like, yeah, so
Captain Marvel,
it's anime,
and stuff. Yeah, not everyone's going to want to do or have the time to do.
Well, yeah, not everyone's available.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
and I'm sure What If has a lower budget probably, and they just they can't necessarily. I don't know. I don't know how it works behind the scenes at Marvel / Disney / the Mouse Empire, but I assume that if you're Robert Downey Jr., your contract is to do everything that's in the show, and so his contract is over. So would have to have paid him a lot more money probably to do something like What If. So they're not going to do that.
Yeah,
if they can get somebody who's close.
And it could have been. I mean, in some cases, even Robert Downey Jr. could have been like, "Hey, we're doing this animated thing." And he may have been, I feel like I'm kind of done with it after Endgame, so no thanks. And that's totally fine.
Maybe, but if he had a contract, he'd have to do it.
Right, but I'm saying he probably didn't because I think his contract was done with Endgame. And,
no, it expired after Endgame, they would have had to renegotiate a deal for this, and they weren't going to spend the money on that. If they could get somebody who's close. I'm sure that I would bet money that all the people that are in this doing the voices from the MCU are all people who are still under contract for further projects.
Yeah,
so
probably.
This would be included. So anybody who was there, like unfortunately Chadwick Boseman, he plays T'Challa in this, and I'm sure he was contracted for another Black Panther film, but he sadly passed away, so he can't do it. But so this will be his last performance in a Marvel MCU type capacity. So that's a shame. But we'll never know what would have happened with him. I'm sure Black Panther 2 will still be a great movie because I think Coogler will kick ass with it, Ryan Coogler, and the cast and everybody will come back and do a great job. But it won't be exactly the same.
No.
Obviously.
Well, everybody involved seems pretty excited about it. Angela Bassett's been talking quite a bit about it. So.
And I'm sure they'll do something to honor Chadwick Boseman. And but you can't just. As sad as it is, you can't just stop doing things. I mean, you have to move on with your life, and you have to, you have to live your life. And I'm sure they will not necessarily bring another Black Panther, but it'll be something, and we'll find out obviously what that's going to be. But
yes.
But What If looks, going back to What If, I don't know. I like animation. It's not something I'm like, oh God, I hope there's an animated show about Marvel zombies because that looks amazing.
Right.
We do get Marvel zombies apparently.
Yes.
But I don't know. I'll watch it because I have faith, a certain degree of faith in Marvel and what they're doing, and Kevin Feige, and they seem to be doing okay. They sure did a good job with Loki, and we'll get to that in a minute.
I'm very much looking forward to What If. I always loved the What If comics back in the day, and the cool thing about those, so unlike the DC Comics universe, Marvel Comics has never really had. They have like here and there, but they've never had like this full like multiverse where there was Golden Age Captain America hung out on this Earth and met current Captain America. It was always like they kept the continuity going for the characters. It's like that's how we explain Captain America fought in World War II and is alive today. He was frozen and stuff like that. So they never really had that kind of Justice League, Justice Society, alternate Earth kind of thing. So seeing the What If series, it's like, oh, what if, your favorite storyline in the comics went a different way? What if this happened? Like the first issue was what if Spider-Man joined the Fantastic Four? And they became the Fantastic Five. It was like, man, this is amazing. This is really cool. So I always loved those. They came out,
Fantastic Five sounds pretty good.
Yeah, I think they came out like every couple months. It wasn't a monthly title. It was like every month or every quarter or something like that.
Yeah, I still have a bunch of them. One of my favorite was What If Captain America hadn't fallen in the ice or whatever.
Right,
so that was because I was a big Cap fan, so I have a lot of Cap related ones. And he goes about his life and fights World War II, and
he does like another group of Avengers in the 50s or something like that.
Yeah, it was cool. It was a good, I like the idea, and you're right. They didn't really have the opportunity to do a lot of multiverse stuff, or didn't take the opportunity. But then they also they did the What If stuff, but then they ended up doing Ultimates, which was which is kind of how I got back into comics after a long absence. I started reading Ultimates which of course famously features Nick Fury looking like Samuel Jackson.
Yes.
And then it all came true, man. So I'm like, cool. I enjoyed that a lot. But yeah, I'll watch it. Of course, I'll watch it.
Yeah,
It's gonna be fun. And I'm probably, I don't know what my reluctance is for animated shows these days. I don't watch nearly as much animation as I used to. I'd rather go back and watch like Akira, came out 40 years ago. I'd rather go back and watch that because or Ghost in the Shell or something, or anime kind of stuff like that, old school.
There was they redid Star Blazers recently, and they're like redoing it to the extent of like redoing like the whole season again. So they've done like the first 2 seasons, and it takes about 2 or 3, 4 years between seasons. But those I watched, and those were interesting because it was basically kind of like it was the animation from then, but just kind of done now, so it looks a little cleaner, a little better, but it's like, oh, there's still the characters. So it was like, it's like weird seeing an animated reboot, right? But it was like, oh,
is it the exact same story with the Gamelons and all that stuff?
Yeah. So it's like
Iskandar.
Yeah, exactly. It's the same thing, and
I was not aware of that. I know they did a live action movie, which looked really good, by the way.
The movie was good. Yeah,
it was. Yeah, Star Blazers or Space Cruiser or Space Cruiser Yamato, right? Yeah, or a Space Battleship Yamato. Anyway, in its native whatever, in the Japanese version. But yeah, we used to watch Star Blazers as kids all the time. I love that show. So, well, now that you say that, I'll have to check it out.
And I mean they've kind of cleaned up the story a little bit and made it. Because it seemed like there were things as the season went on, because they were based on movie. They did like an animated movie first, and then they expanded the story into 26 episodes. And it seemed like there was stuff later that either wasn't well thought out, or it's like, oh, let's introduce this character, and then they just didn't really do much with them. So they tightened the story. It's still 26 episodes a season, but it's like, to me, that was kind of weird because I'm like, you're remaking a cartoon and doing everything you can to make it look just like the original. It's like, that's kind of interesting.
That's cool.
Yeah. So,
yeah, I'm definitely interested in that. I didn't realize, I guess, that the original Star Blazers had 3 seasons. I guess I didn't know that.
Yeah, there was like
the first 2.
The third season, I think, for the longest time, there was some. As always happens, some kind of money or contracts or something like that. And the third season for many years did not air in the U.S. because they didn't do a U.S. translation or dub. And it may have aired in the U.S., but it was like the original Japanese version. And then it was like, I don't know, 10 or 15 years, they finally... somebody got some money and they did a dub, but the weird thing was pretty much I don't think any of the voice actors were the originals from the first 2 seasons that they used. So it was like, it's kind of a weird disconnect watching it. It's like that voice isn't quite right.
I loved all that stuff. I would definitely I want to go and find that now. Maybe I'll go back and watch the original too. I think I have the original.
I have
somewhere, probably on DVD or something.
Yeah. In fact,
they're actually thinking about a live action version, an Americanized version, directed by Christopher McQuarrie, apparently.
Indeed. So. No, in fact, I think that's where the third season made its debut. Is they had great success with the first 2 seasons on DVD, and they were like, well, let's hire some actors and dub the third season and release it on DVD. So.
Yeah, it was weird. Apparently, I always say apparently. I don't know why, because it's actual facts. Right. Not apparently. It really happened. There was like 4 years between season 2 and 3. 1980 and then 1984 was the third season. Yeah. Thank you, Wikipedia.
Yes.
But so yeah, that's interesting. It was Space Battleship Yamato. That's the actual title. I knew it was something like that. I couldn't remember, but cool. Well, that's exciting. I'm excited. Now I have something to go find. I'm gonna go watch all my original Star Blazers shows.
You should track down the new ones too, and we can.
I will.
We can talk.
I'm sure I can find them. I just love the fact that it was so like Star Wars. Obviously, everything was like Star Wars related. Derek Wildstar was the main character. But anyway, yeah, it's I imagine they have to clean it up a little bit or change it up a little bit for American audiences because we don't understand the history behind Yamato and all that stuff. Obviously, we're too stupid to figure that out. But,
well, they were edited, of course, to take out some of
sure.
the violence and stuff because we don't want kids, seeing too much of that. But.
Oh, that's a good point. I want are they? I don't know if I've watched the unedited versions. I've only seen the TV versions. I wonder if they're more violent and more,
There is a bit more
whatever.
to them. They certainly were edited. I have seen the subtitled first season, and it's like, yeah, there's, it's been years, so I don't remember what, but yeah, it's like, oh yeah, that's definitely more serious. The same thing with Battle for the Planets was, an American edited show called Gatchaman in Japan, and they had to add animation with that robot 7-Zark-7 at their base. The reason why they rarely ever talk to him is because that was added stuff to fill up the space. They had to cut out the violent parts. So
I just love the ship with the wave motion gun.
Yeah, I was fascinated watching it because it was the first time I had encountered anything that was all 26 episodes, the whole season is one long story, one serialized
Right, it was
story.
all one. Yeah. It was
and it
all,
took place over a year, and it was wow, that's really cool. So
yeah, that's interesting. Well, I think because, kids, for better or worse, probably don't have the attention span to follow a show like that. But maybe in Japan they do. I don't know.
Yeah,
but I remember that we were riveted. We would watch it every morning. There'd be a new episode before school. It was an amazing show.
I saw it in the afternoons, and then there would be the weird times, if a different channel would pick up the syndication rights, but they didn't bother to air it in order. So you're watching, it's well, wait a second, that's weird. Why would you do that? So anyway,
I don't know.
Well,
that's cool. I love that. All right. So we were talking about animation. Sorry, I lost my train of thought for a second. That's the problem. That's the problem when you're trying to do a show, and also I'm trying to read something online. I shouldn't be looking at the internet while I'm doing a podcast.
You're reading a book while we're doing a podcast.
I'm reading a book, and I'm doing some pottery. It's weird.
Yeah, exactly. Cooking breakfast.
I was inspired by your favorite actor, Seth Rogen, to do pottery. So I'm just kidding. Okay, the show we'll do is Joe will convince Chris to like Doctor Who, and I will convince Joe that Seth Rogen is a worthwhile person.
In fact, I won't even be that lofty. You have to convince me to like a Seth Rogen movie.
Oh man, that's tough.
Yeah.
Well, did you like 40-Year-Old Virgin?
No.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh man. All right.
There was parts that were okay, but I was just like. So
Knocked Up?
No.
Okay. Well, I don't know. We're gonna have to do some work, but
yeah.
Anyway, yes. What if Joe liked? No, I'm kidding.
What if Joe thought that Seth Rogen was an auteur?
Yeah. I don't know that he's an auteur, but he did do a pretty good job with the TV show. Oh my God! Now I'm gonna Preacher. I thought Preacher turned out pretty well.
No.
So you didn't like Preacher?
No.
Wow, you're a tough sell. All right, well, this is good. we generally agree on a lot of things, so if we don't agree, that's better. Controversy always is better.
Yes,
isn't it?
Well, I think so. That sells more tickets.
Better for ratings. If there's controversy, then we can talk about it and get people.
And people will crush that like button.
Taking a contrary position, generating a conflict. That's how you have to do things. So, all right, cool. Well, that's good. So stay tuned for that. But in the meantime. Watch What If. I think it comes out. I say drops, whatever. It comes out right after.
It's in a couple weeks.
Pretty sure in a couple weeks they're gonna take a break after Loki ended spectacularly, and then they're gonna come back with What If. So that's cool. And what is after What If? Do we know yet? I don't think we do.
I think Hawkeye is supposed to be before the end of the year.
Hawkeye.
So.
That's right.
Yeah.
That'll be interesting considering how Black Widow ended.
Yeah.
So I wonder how that will affect things. Anyway, more Florence Pugh is fine with me. I'm fine with her. So she can be in all the things. And I want to get her and Idris Elba in a movie together.
There you go. And they're already developing a second season of What If. So.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, good. I mean, that I got to think that's probably. It's certainly less expensive than doing, a live action show. The only other thing I'm excited about with What If is I love to see Peggy Carter come back.
Yeah.
it's great that Haley Atwell's getting to do that character again and become Captain Carter, which I really enjoy.
I mean, most people looking at the cast list, most of the actors from the movies are doing their voices. So I mean, it's not like they're just.
I'm just like I said, I'm just happy that she gets to come back to the MCU again because I really enjoyed that show and I thought she was great as that character, and I like her in just everything in general. This is a total aside, and we don't really get into this gossip thing, but did you see all the articles about her supposedly dating Tom Cruise?
Really?
They've been seen at events together and stuff.
Yeah, but they're shooting a movie together, so...
Right, so that makes sense. Yeah, it's not surprising, but I just thought that was weird. I don't know why, because we like Tom Cruise and we like her, so hopefully they'll be happy together. So anyway.
Hopefully he doesn't
try to recruit her into Scientology.
Maybe he can help get the aliens out of her head. I don't know.
I don't know how that works. Yeah, you have to.
I don't know. Do you? I don't know. How the
we don't want to talk about.
No,
we don't want to talk about Scientology.
No. We should not do that
because they will definitely find us.
That's right. You guys are cool. We're moving on.
Just a quick Scientology story. No, it's fine. My friend back in California, she went to a Scientology center one time, and then never ever could get rid of them. I
made that mistake too. Well, all right. So, are you done? Do you just have more on that story?
Oh, that was it. Okay. They just never would leave her alone. They would always call. They would always try to get her to recruit her. And I mean, she became sort of successful, and so it's like, as an actress, and so it's like, of course they wanted her, but it's
sure.
They would not leave her alone. She's like, I still get calls. I had to change my number, and I had to do this, and they're like stalking me. It was scary in a way.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry. Go ahead. What's your story?
Well, so my best friend came out to visit me in Portland a number of years ago, like 20 years ago or something like that. And we went to downtown, of course, like you do when a friend visits, and we went to Kel's Irish Pub. We got pretty drunk. I'll be honest. We got pretty drunk, and it was like, well, we should walk around and sober up. And as we're walking around, they're like, oh, there's a Scientology center. We should go in.
Oh, man.
So we went in, and that was a fun experience. But yeah, we did the same thing. It's like, oh, we got to sign up for stuff, and then you can't get rid of them. So
no, you can't.
Yeah.
I mean, we used to go. One of the strangely enough, a bar I used to go to was a place called Birds in Hollywood, and it was right across the street from the quote unquote celebrity center of Scientology. Which is a giant building, beautifully designed building, for celebrities. So also coincidentally, Birds is where Jason Momoa got his facial scar. That's a totally bit of trivia there, but he got into a bar fight there.
Nice.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry, I don't know why I know that, but I do.
We had a celebrity Scientology center here too in Portland. It was not where the main Scientology center was. It was in a better part of town, and yeah, that used to be things like, ooh, who's in town this week? And they're going to the Scientology Center.
Oh, sure. If they come up there to work or whatever, they have to. I mean, not that there's no celebrities in Portland, but it's interesting. They need to go and get their midichlorians refreshed or something.
Midichlorians refreshed. Yes,
I don't know what it is. I try not to know things about that.
Don't.
And so they need to go to a place to chill. That's interesting because they can't be among the regulars, the normals or whatever.
Do not mock. Xenu will come for you.
I'm not mocking Xenu at all. I wouldn't mock. I don't even know who Xenu is, so I wouldn't mock him. But if there are any Scientology members listening to the show, no offense. It's just your quote unquote religion seems ridiculous to me.
I think they just need to take Xenu for a beer and just kind of hug it out, and things will be cool.
Yeah,
but we're apparently all evil aliens that want to take over the universe. So.
I want to take over the universe. But I'm not going to.
Yeah, I mean, I'm doing
Actually, you know what? The universe is kind of fucked up. I don't really want to take it over because that's a lot of responsibility.
That's a lot of overhead. Seems like a lot.
That's a lot of overhead. Sure. No,
I mean, just think of the hiring you'd have to do. Just
now, I know how quote unquote Kang feels. I don't want to.
Yes.
Be in charge. I don't want to be in charge of anything.
Or is that Kang? We'll talk about it.
Well, anyway, we'll talk about it in a minute. But all right, so No Sudden Move, Steven Soderbergh, featuring Don Cheadle, Benicio del Toro, and an amazing cast. I cannot say enough good things about this movie. See, if a movie like this comes along, I'm almost glad, and I know we talked about this a little bit before. I'm glad that it was on something like HBO Max because it would have come out and probably not gotten the recognition that it deserves because people are
Yes.
like, whatever.
Yeah.
Not. Why is Iron Patriot in this movie, but stuff doesn't blow up?
But he's not doing anything. What the hell?
He's not doing anything. Nothing's exploding. I thought it was great, and people were complaining it's too slow or it's like nothing happens. But that's character development. That's how movies.
Yeah, we'll talk about this
are.
with the Loki finale, but it's like when people tell me, well, nothing happened in this movie, it's like because it's a movie about the characters, and a lot happened if you actually paid attention. And I hate being snobby like that, but it's true. I mean,
well, no, and it's not a movie for everybody,
no.
for sure. Just like Loki is not a show for everybody,
right.
and this kind of thing is not, it's not a mainstream kind of film, which is again, I think, a good reason to have it on HBO Max as opposed to the theaters, although it probably would have done okay in theaters. I think about a movie like L.A. Confidential, right, which is kind of like a noir sort of gangster-ish, cop procedural, whatever. Elmore Leonard, amazing book, and a great movie, but was hugely successful for Warner Brothers when it came out. But it had Russell Crowe, and it had I'm trying to remember who's in that thing.
Well, this has got a good cast. Plus, Steven Soderbergh is he draws people to an theater.
He does indeed. But it's period, and it's anyway. I think it's great that it's going to get recognition. Hopefully, it will, and I hope it gets recognition down the road for HBO Max and for Soderbergh. Although he doesn't really need awards, he's already got a bunch of awards. But I love the fact that he shoots the movie and directs the movie and probably helped write it. And he's like an auteur,
cinematographer, and editor.
Yeah, that's why it means he shoots the movie.
Yeah, he did like the whole thing. Even it's I can't say enough good things about this movie. I just thought it was. I knew you'd like it. So. There's the usual thing. There's no wasted scenes in this movie. And I would say the performances, I was even impressed by the kids. I thought, they had brief scenes, but they did really good. It was just no bad performances, a tight script, and it was really good. I love neo-noir movies anyway, so this was such a great movie. I can't recommend it.
Although I'll be honest with you, it was funny to me when I was watching this when they had the big celebrity cameo, I suppose, towards the end. I guess I can just say who it is, right?
Yeah.
But when he shows up at the end, because he's been in Soderbergh movies before, he was in all the Ocean's movies and everything. Yeah. Matt Damon.
Yes.
So,
yes.
I kept thinking about that scene in Ocean's 1 or 2, whatever. We're talking about the fake nose. The nose plays. There's the whole thing. I'm like, why is he not wearing a fake nose? It kind of ruined it for me a little bit. But
right.
but I mean. So many good people: Don Cheadle, Benicio del Toro, David Harbour. Like I was saying, he's playing against type. He's playing the nerdy sort of, like scaredy accountant type, but then kind of finds his balls at one point.
Kieran Culkin, who's awesome in everything.
He was menacing. He was really menacing.
Yeah,
more so than I thought he did really good. Yeah, I was impressed with him. Bill Duke, Ray Liotta.
Yeah.
Brendan Fraser looking, unfortunately tore up a bit, but poor guy.
Yeah.
But you know what? Good for him, and he's great. John Hamm. I mean, come on.
Yeah, it was just.
It's
so good.
It really was. I don't really, other than the Matt Damon thing with the nose, and I don't know why I thought of that because I've seen all the Ocean's movies. Soderbergh is one of those people who can put you know that all the cast work for like the same money. They all like work for scale or whatever. They all did this because they want to work with him and they enjoyed it so much. I mean, maybe I don't know that for sure, but I would bet that it's a pretty economical film. It's just like you were saying, there's an economy of language and an economy of shooting. It's not flashy. Like, it's so funny to watch this and then watch something like Gunpowder Milkshake, which is all sort of style over substance, where this is all substance. I mean, there's still a style.
Definitely a style to it, yes.
He's like a guy who's like old school. He's like, this is how you do, the angles of the shots and the way, and where you put the camera if it's too low or this and the empty space and the framing. And like there's a difference between an artist like Soderbergh and just a regular director, I think.
Right.
And if you want to watch the difference, you should watch this and something like Gunpowder Milkshake or Army of the Dead, one after the other, and you'll see the difference. That this is a movie This is cinema.
Yes.
If I want to be a
this is a film, not a
an
movie.
elitist. This is a film,
Yeah.
not a movie. Exactly. If I want to be an elitist, this is exactly. And then you just got a movie because, there's a place for style and flashiness and and stuff like that and cool angles and cool whatever. But this is
Yes.
it doesn't need that because you have such a good script and you have such a good cast and you just let the scenes play out. It's like, oh, these guys are it's almost like a play, right?
Yep.
It's like
there's some great twists, especially towards the end, and it's just it's really, really good. I thought he shot this interestingly though, because the background at times almost felt surreal and not there, but what I found is it kind of, not that you weren't going to anyway, but it really forced you to focus on the characters and not really pay attention to what was in the background. And I kind of like that. But
yeah, definitely. And there's definitely, like you said, there's definitely some surprises. Some of the characters don't, what happens to them is sort of a surprise, but not really.
Yeah.
And I thought Don Cheadle was really particularly good, and he's kind of got that bemused sort of, I'm trying to think of the right word. He's just kind of like taking it all in, but his motivation is to make it through the day basically.
Yes.
But he's willing to do almost anything, but not anything. It's just so good. If you haven't watched it, it's definitely worth watching. I actually want to watch it again. So
it reminded me a lot. And it's completely different story, but it reminded me a lot of his first movie, Sex, Lies, and Videotape, because it was very, very focused on the characters and not necessarily what they were going through. So, yeah. Excuse me. But yeah, no, it was so good.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think about the movie that they were trying to make, like, because he was casting this and getting it ready, and then he started it, but there was scheduling conflicts, and some people had to drop out because of COVID and whatever. But originally, there was also going to be Clooney was going to be in it, of course,
right,
and Josh Brolin and Sebastian Stan. So it's like a whole Marvel reunion kind of thing. But then Don Cheadle was already going, so it would have been Don Cheadle, Sebastian Stan, and Josh Brolin all in the same movie.
That'd have been funny.
But, I mean, they're all good. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say, like you said, my favorite, I think, not standout, but my sort of like surprise, because a lot of times I've seen Kieran Culkin do sort of comedic roles, right?
Yeah.
Like, I still think of him from Scott Pilgrim.
Yes.
But he had the menace, the sort of underlying menace, and he is like a wild card. You don't know what he's going to do at any moment.
Yes.
But that's like kind of permeates the entire movie, because Don Cheadle's character, I suppose you can make the case, is kind of desperate in a way, desperate to get out of this situation and survive, and but he never seems desperate, right?
Yes.
He seems like he's in control, and Kieran Culkin's character also seemed desperate, but he kind of came across more as desperate in a way, and he would do weird things, or he would go in a different direction, and then other things happen.
I feel like Kieran Culkin's character, in a way, was almost like the most honest in the movie, because he was going to do his job and didn't have any qualms about anything he would have to do. And he's just like, I'm just here to make some money and do my job. And everybody else, you never knew if they were being honest or they were actually, working with each other or against each other. And so, I said, his is probably the most honest, because even David Harbour's character, you find out he wasn't necessarily honest.
They're all crooks, right? But he's the most honest crook, basically.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just,
he's like, he make the case, like a lot of times you talk about it in these kind of movies, like, I'm a professional.
Right.
This is what I do. It's a job. I do my job. I'm a bad guy, but I do my job.
Yeah.
And I'll do whatever it takes to do my job.
When the guy calls and says, do something bad, he's like, on it. I got it.
Okay. No problem.
Yeah.
So he doesn't think outside the box. He's not a planner. He's a doer, right?
Right.
Which is, I guess why what happens to him happens to him.
Yeah.
So, anyway,
but just really
no
good.
spoilers, but
yeah.
I did think it was funny in a way. It kind of had its Chinatown moment, I guess, or because they find out, like, if you've never seen Chinatown, by the way, it's an amazing film.
Yes.
It's all about water. That's the big key to Chinatown. But this had its own sort of water moment, I guess, when you find out the whole thing is about
Yes.
the thing it's about, right?
Yes. Yes. Exactly. Yes.
Which is kind of funny because this is based on, I think Ed Solomon was mentioning something about it on Twitter, even about how he's the writer of the movie.
Right.
I like to mention the writers sometimes. He was talking about how it's sort of based on like true events, kind of, or things that happen in history.
Right.
But yeah, it's interesting what the sort of, I don't want to say MacGuffin, but kind of like the sort of big deal was about, and how it interwove the whole like auto industry, and it takes place in Detroit, which makes sense that it's all about auto industry stuff.
Yes.
It's just, yeah, it's 1950s Detroit was basically a very dangerous place apparently. So anyway,
but yeah, as that unfolds,
awesome
and you're
movie.
like, okay, that I didn't see that coming, but that makes sense.
Well, yeah, it's also got a pro environmental message in the movie too.
Yes. But yeah, yeah, it does exactly. So
yeah, these are important. These things are important.
Yeah.
So
but, yeah.
anyway, you just need to see it, and I do like how it resolves. I do like the sort of finale with Bill Duke and Cheadle.
Yeah.
And how it's like, I just need this. That's all I need. I'm not greedy.
Yeah.
I'm not a bad person per se. I just need what I need, and that's kind of what he gets, and that he's happy with that, and that's how it ends, and that's good because he didn't have delusions of grandeur or whatever. He wasn't trying to bite off like Benicio del Toro's character. He wasn't trying to do more than he could do. He was just trying to get by, right?
Well,
and so
yeah.
he does get by, and it works out.
I would say a little bit of spoiler. Maybe you should stop listening for a minute if you haven't watched it yet. But yeah, it seems like all the characters in the movie that tried to overreach and go for more, things didn't go well for them. But he's like, all I wanted through this whole thing was this for this place, and that's it.
Right.
and he gets that. It's like
I want my $5,000 so I can go to Kansas City.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's it. I mean, yeah, that's,
and not
spoilers,
only
but
he gets it in the end, and also gets let out of the trunk in Kansas City. Welcome to Kansas City. It's like,
yeah, don't come back.
Yeah, and he's like, cool, I'm good.
Cool, we're good. Yeah, he's like, we're cool, right? So yeah,
yeah. So that was yeah.
Well, that's what I like about it. It's like, you can be ambitious, you can be whatever, and you can still make it. But sometimes if you try for too much, you're going to get, bad things are going to happen to you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not 100% sure what the message was. I need to watch it again, what the sort of philosophy and the final message was about. But I think it's something like that. It's got to be like, your reach should not exceed your grasp sometimes.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I'm sure that in certain circumstances he would have taken more if he could have.
Maybe.
But
I just think
he
was like, I just want this. Yeah.
Well, yeah, his needs became more simple, right? He just decided, this is what I need to survive, and this is what I need to get out of this bracket.
Yeah,
basically.
Exactly.
And so
I want to be able to buy my home in Kansas City, and I'm good.
Yeah.
So
yeah, exactly. So it's definitely worth watching if you like these kind of films, but also if you're a fan of the Oceans. Although it's not like that kind of caper movie at all. It's not like
no,
because the Oceans movies are sort of have some comedic elements.
Yeah,
I think too, which makes them. And those are more. See, the other thing I like about Soderbergh is those are that kind of movie, Oceans 11 and 12 and 13. Those are slicker, right? They're more stylistic because that's the kind of glitzy, Vegas-y type thing that was required. But this is more of a straightforward noir kind of, although it's less noir because, well, I can say because Cheadle's character survives, but nothing really bad happens.
I mean,
to him,
the Ocean's movies, though, nothing like violently and terminal happens to anyone in those movies. Right?
No, because Clooney's character, Danny Ocean, is so smart.
Right, exactly.
he's playing three-dimensional chess, man. He's like ahead of everybody else.
This reminded me a little bit, maybe not so much of partly Sex Lies and Videotape, but also the Limey. I got a lot of vibe from that, which is another great movie that Soderbergh.
Dude, I fucking love the Limey, dude.
Yeah, that's such a good movie. Man, he's done some good movies, but
yeah, the Limey is one of those I think that people don't necessarily. I think people are sleeping on the Limey. They should really dig it out and watch it because it is so it is so good and so interesting to me. I love that movie, and I love the way it's shot. I love all the performances. Fucking Terrence Stamp is menacing as hell.
Oh yeah.
I'm surprised Luis Guzman was not in this movie though, because he's usually
isn't he in like everything he does just about?
Almost. Well, I think it was just because it's Detroit. Maybe there wasn't a lot of because it's like it was more of a story about racial struggles, maybe with African Americans and the whatever. Although Benicio del Toro, maybe I don't know. It's I was surprised. Yeah, he's usually in a lot of his movies.
Yeah.
But yeah, The Limey's great.
Because Bill Duke is in The Limey, and he's in this.
Yeah,
too,
Bill Duke is in everything.
Yeah.
I love that part in The Limey where Terrence Stamp, Will Wilson, is explaining something to him, and Bill Duke says, I only don't understand one thing. The one thing I don't understand is every motherfucking word you just said.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Fucking.
That's another movie, much like this one, that you have to. These aren't. I would say The Limey and especially No Sud Move are not something you put on while you're making dinner or doing something else. You got to really watch them.
No, yeah, you definitely do. You definitely do. Well, you got to pay attention. It's like if there's not a lot of explosions and gunfights and whatever, and there's not a lot of action per se, so you need to pay attention to what the characters are doing. You need to listen to the dialogue. I'm sorry, but the dialogue is important. And in The Limey too, there's not a lot of explosive action. Although Terrence Stamp's character does get a little nuts on a few people.
Well, yeah, but I mean, there's a lot said, and there's a lot in the body language and how the characters act and stuff like that in both movies.
And there's another great part of The Limey where he gets he's going to get kicked out of the party, but then there's they're inside the house, and you see the patio in the back where the deck is that goes off the thing, and you just see him walk back out there and knock that fucking guy off the thing. Yeah. It's all quiet,
Yeah.
Just knocks his ass over the balcony.
It's like, what the hell?
Yeah. What the fuck? It's kind of almost an afterthought. He's like, I'm just going to go fuck that, because he's not give a fuck, man.
No, he does not. It's great.
He just wants to find out what happened to James.
The same thing with Cheadle's character in this one. He just wants what he wants, and he's gonna course correct anyone else that is distracting from that, and he's got a part of a plan, kind of, so.
Yeah, it's interesting. I would wonder. I think I'm gonna watch The Limey.
I gotta watch that again now too,
and then watch this, because they're kind of almost, I don't want to say bookending in a way, because The Limey is, I mean, Terrence Stamp's character is a lot different than Don Cheadle's character, obviously, but you're right, they both have sort of one goal in mind. And granted, Terrence Stamp is much more dangerous and much more willing to go the extra mile and beat up a bunch of people and kill a bunch of dudes, but his motivation is more revenge, right? But Don Cheadle's motivation is more escape.
Yes, exactly. So now, you're right. I need to watch him back to back now.
Yeah, Kurt. That's his character's name, Kurt.
Yes,
Kurt.
And I got to say, hearing Don Cheadle with a Detroit accent, after seeing him in a bunch of other stuff that I've rewatched lately, I'm like, oh, that was weird. But that's not Don Cheadle, Benicio del Toro. I mean, sorry,
Benicio del Toro is an Academy Award-winning actor. He's a great actor.
Yes.
But yeah, it's interesting to think about Don Cheadle too, because he was in all the Ocean's films, but he was also in, One False Move. No, what was the one with Clooney and Jennifer Lopez? Because that was Soderbergh too. I'm trying to remember now. I'm forgetting. But anyway.
No.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
I know it. Yes, and now
you know what I'm talking about. Not Aaron Brockovich.
I have to go look it up.
I gotta look it up too.
This is compelling podcasting while we look stuff
out of sight.
Out of sight, yes.
That's the first time I remember seeing Don Cheadle in something.
Oh, really? Maybe
I don't think
that might be
because he had been in other things, I know, but I'd seen him in that first, and he was great as Snoop, the boxer in that movie. He was a great bad guy. He was menacing as hell, and it's interesting to see him in that as that character, and then see him in this movie. He's come a long way, kind of evolved as a character. But I think Snoop and Kurt are kind of like similar characters in a way.
Yes,
because they're like two sides of a coin, right? Basically, because Snoop was just dangerous and evil, whereas whereas Kurt is just a totally
I
different
think
guy.
Hamburger Hill was the first movie I saw Don Cheadle in. That or Boogie Nights. It was something before Out of Sight, but.
Well, okay, so I don't know. Yeah, what is so Out of Sight was
98.
Hold on, 98. When was Boogie Nights?
Year before.
Oh, well.
And Hamburger Hill was like 10 years before.
Oh, well, he was also in Hotel Rwanda.
Yeah.
As well, but that was 2004.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
well, yeah, he's been in like Colors. Oh, he was in Colors. Yeah.
Yeah.
Devil in a Blue Dress.
And he was on a bunch of TV
right.
shows that I probably saw him on. Too,
Rosewood, Boogie Nights, Out of Sight, Traffic, and Ocean's Trilogy. Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah, he went to Colors.
He was like on an episode of Hill Street Blues and Night Court and stuff around that time. So I don't really remember the first thing, but yeah, that was probably part of it. Was certainly Out of Sight was where I was like, oh yeah, there's that guy. He's really good. So
yeah, no, he's great, and I'm glad to see him, doing other work besides the Marvel movies. Although, if you do the Marvel movies, you don't really have to work, right? Because you make that Marvel money.
That's right. Then you can go off and do a art movie for nothing. So,
well, I mean, I'm sure he made some money on it, but he probably just did it because Soderbergh's like, hey, I got a movie. He's like, I'll be there. What time do you want me to show up?
Yeah.
No problem. I'll be there. And you're the lead, by the way, too. Oh, definitely, I'll be there. So.
And David Harbour is always fantastic. So.
Yeah, he's. I sort of feel bad for David Harbour in a way because he kind of is peaking later in life a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not old. He's just not, he's not a teenager. And so it's just, I feel like he's kind of finally coming into his own a little bit with all the, being in a Marvel movie doesn't hurt. And then, of course, being on Stranger Things. But, I mean, really, what was his career before Stranger Things? He was like, supporting guys in some stuff. But Stranger Things really kind of put him on the map. But I do feel bad that he wasn't able to, come along till now. But you know what? He's going to be fine. He's going to do a lot of stuff. And I'm trying to find how old David Harbour is.
Well, I don't think he really started acting, too, until like the early 2000s, right? So
really? Yeah, I don't know. Commercials?
Well, maybe, yeah.
Oh, he was in the theater.
Theater. Okay, well, that explains why he's such a good actor. So.
He's the theater trained.
Yes.
Anyway, I am a David Harbour fan, and I'm excited for the new season of Stranger Things. It'll be interesting to see what happens to his character, who also ends up in a Russian prison, strangely enough, just like...
oh, that's true, yes.
Just like his character in Black Widow. Weird.
Oh.
Maybe they're the same person. Who knows?
Maybe. Who knows?
Okay, so let's talk about the Loki season
finale, yes, as we discovered.
Not the series finale.
I don't think it was any big secret that they were already working on a second season for this one. But
it was a big. Well, okay, so we should say also spoilers for Loki season
massive
finale.
Spoilers.
The episode entitled "For All Time, Always."
For all time, always.
Yeah. So that phrase came in big time towards the end of this episode for sure. But okay, so first impressions of the Loki season finale, go.
I liked it a lot. I thought it was a great ending, especially if you remember that the series is about Loki. It's right there on the tin. So it's not TVA, the series. It's not Who is Kang, the series. It's Loki, the series. So the fact that people are like, oh, nothing happened in that finale. I'm like, are you kidding? Did you watch it? Because a lot happened. And we found out a lot about how far Loki has come and what he is willing and not willing to do anymore. And I just thought it was really great. And of course, it's sort of like the very end. I was kind of like, well, kind of saw that coming. But it was like, I'm excited to see what happens next. I want to see where they go with this. So... I liked it a lot. I thought that...
There was some people complaining I saw online about how they are disappointed that every show is now a launch point for other shows and there's no like completed stories. But I feel like you got a complete story.
I thought you got a complete story.
But it's a TV show, and if they're going to do another season, you've got some resolution, but you have to have something to springboard you into season 2.
You have the cliffhanger for it, and there are things...
But you could, I guess, you could make the case that it's sort of like it's almost like this was just something to propel us to the next movie in a way, but not really. I mean,
I don't think so. I mean,
yeah.
they could continue everything that happened in the next season and it would still be satisfying. Yeah, I think it's obviously going to feed into Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania and Doctor Strange movie and stuff like that, but it's funny because that's the other complaint I've seen is like, oh, you know, Marvel used to say you could watch any of her movies and get a complete story, but now you have to watch all the TV shows. I'm like, no, you don't. I think you could not have watched Loki at all, and Marvel does a good enough job that when you watch Ant-Man and the Wasp and Doctor Strange 2, you won't be going, oh, I don't understand what's going on, because they understand you have to tell a complete story in a movie, right? And same thing with the TV show. There may be threads that go someplace else, but that doesn't mean they haven't told a complete story. I didn't feel that way with WandaVision. I thought we got a complete story. Same thing with Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Same thing here.
You got a complete story, but then the end of WandaVision was Wanda, you know.
But that was like that was a tag. You could have like skipped that, and you wouldn't miss anything story wise.
Like leaving the house and all that was the ending, right?
Yeah.
And then the sort of denouement, if you will,
yeah,
coda was her at the house, doing whatever, and then hearing her kids.
But you could not have watched that, and WandaVision would be complete. And it's an end title thing, so it's like, yeah, it sets up something and moves a character someplace else, but it doesn't negate that you got a complete story, right? So same thing with Loki.
I would say in this episode features one of the strongest scares in any Marvel movie or show, because they go into the castle, right, and then boom, Miss Minutes.
Yeah, she got menacing. We were right about that she was going to turn out to be a little bit more menacing.
That was like a jump scare in a Marvel show. I'm like,
yeah,
boom, wow,
yes.
He who remains is here.
Yes,
he wants to make you a deal.
He's making dinosaurs. No, sorry, I keep
dinosaur.
Thinking,
I know. Well, you have to know that Tara Strong is influenced by that.
I know. But
yeah, Miss Minutes turns out to be not necessarily benevolent, as it turns out. So yes. There you go. But,
she's even working against Renslayer too. So
a little bit. Well, she works for He Who Remains. She does not work for Renslayer. Right. But it's interesting though, as someone pointed out, I don't remember who it was, but someone pointed out that she can't be in two places at once because she was late to meet Renslayer because she was busy with.
That's true.
So is she a sentient creature of some kind? We don't know. But maybe we'll find out in season 2.
Yeah.
I would say that to some degree, since Marvel is so hell-bent on establishing new continuities and launching new shows, and this show is going to suffer a tiny bit because it's still, in some ways, it's Loki's story, as you said, but they spent an awful lot of time developing new characters, like, let's just call him Kang. And so does that make it less of an episode for Loki? Does it make it less satisfying for him? Maybe a tiny bit. For me, at least, it was like his story was not subsumed by the Kang story, but the whole Kang thing was a big deal, right? And they spent, a good chunk of the episode with Kang explaining his history and his origin and all that.
Yes.
And so, which granted, it made sense from a story standpoint because here's why I'm willing to offer you this deal. But that's one of the pitfalls of introducing a major character in the MCU, a major villain in the MCU in this kind of manner. Because if you introduce him in a movie, he is the big bad for the movie, and you've already got like Scott Lang and Ant-Man are already established, and Loki's obviously already established, but they're telling a story that now it's also we got to introduce this guy. So right. I just wonder if Loki's story got kind of not put aside, but it was less. Although, where was it going to go? He kind of developed a heart, right? He found his he found his heart, he
actually found a purpose.
He did a glorious purpose. Yes. Yeah, he did. And then he's not able to realize it because Sylvie's like, bye.
Well, and that later. To me was kind of the great juxtaposition that Sylvie's not trusting, and Mobius and everyone else is convinced. Maybe not Mobius eventually, but everyone else is convinced that Loki's gonna, he lies, he betrays people, and he'll do it on a dime. And he's at the point now where he's not going to do that, and then Sylvie does it. It's like, whoa.
Well, yeah,
know?
like Kang said it best. It's like you can't be trusted, and you're a person who doesn't trust people.
Right. Exactly.
So how can it possibly work?
Right.
So I mean, in some ways, the whole point of that was to get them separated, to drive a wedge between them. Right. That was Kang's plan. In some ways, like, I don't really want you to take over for me. That's bullshit. What I want to do is mess you up.
Right.
What I want to do is split you apart and cause chaos and cause, because maybe you two together are one of the only things that can keep the timeline together or something. But he had ulterior motives. Obviously, he was definitely full of crap.
Yes.
And it was all a manipulation, like Loki said and like Sylvie said, which is funny because they were right, and he was just sort of stringing them along. He wanted Sylvie to, he wanted them to fight. That's why he offered Sylvie the thing, and it's like she ended up being, So anyway, great sort of Planet of the Apes twist at the end,
yes,
right?
Exactly. I like that, and it's like, okay,
that was cool.
That I kind of saw that coming, but it was still cool when it happened, and I'm like, yeah, now I want to see what's more. And that's the other thing that I think is a key to how far Loki has evolved in this show is, at the end he could have just said, well, I've been betrayed, screw that, I'm going to go off and, party for a few decades or whatever. But he's like, no, I got to make sure, I want to make sure, is everybody okay? What's going on? And he's like,
well, yeah, the first thing he does is go find Mobius, right? And B-15. But they don't know who he is.
Yeah, so that was great.
So the question is that the correct timeline for him, or is that them all being wiped?
Right.
It makes more sense that they were all wiped.
Yeah.
Because he definitely doesn't remember, like, the whole thing about the coaster or the table rings, right, with his drink.
Right.
He doesn't remember doing that, so obviously he's been wiped before. So this is not the first time the TV has been reset. So they don't know who he is, which is an interesting thing. Now he has to convince them all over again, and all the goodwill he's built up with Mobius is gone.
Yes. Yep.
So, yeah, I like the ending. I like the fact that there was the Kang in his proper Kang outfit now, not the Immortus outfit, which he was wearing in the elevator.
Yes.
But that's the thing that's interesting to me is I've read all the comics, and I know who Kang is, and I know, the difference between Immortus and Kang and whatever.
Ramatut and Scarlet
and Ramatut, yeah. But not everybody everybody knows that, so they're not going to get the deeper clues. So I'm saying, if you've never watched, I don't know, if you've never watched a Marvel show, are you watching Loki? Maybe not. Maybe it's made for the fans.
I think they will. They'll explain it though in Ant-Man and the Wasp. They'll have a moment where Kang will be like, "Yeah, this used to be more ordered, and I used to be, pent up somewhere, but then my variant or the my true self or whatever went and got himself killed, and now here." So that's all they need for Ant-Man and the Wasp. They don't need.
Well,
it doesn't need to be like. You have I don't agree with well, now you have to watch all of it. You have to watch the shows. That you'll get a lot more out of it if you do, and it'll be cooler if you do. But I think Ant-Man and the Wasp, you'll still get a full story of Kang and an explanation of why he exists in that movie. You have to do that. You can't just
you have to
assume
you can't rely on
that everyone's watched Loki, right? So
you can't. No, you can't. Well, that's the thing. That's the difference between a movie and one of the differences, obviously, between a movie and a TV show. In a movie, you have to have an explanation for people who've never seen anything else.
Right.
It's like it has to be self-contained for the people who are coming into the franchise with this movie. And so, if you're going to have a villain, you have to have, you have to explain where he comes from. You have to do, and they're pretty good at that. They'll figure out a way to do it.
The TV shows to me are like, Starship Troopers, would you like to know more? And you click on that and you go, oh, here's how Kang came about, or here's what's going on with Loki.
Which is interesting because they did bring out a giant MCU villain for a lot of the movies in the TV show.
Yes.
Which even though there was so many clues, I still had some reservations about whether they would really do that. So that just shows how important these shows are. How important these shows are.
Yes.
Wow,
they're not just throwaway shows. There's something.
They're not. Clearly, they're not just throwaways. They are part of MCU canon, and they're going to be going forward. So it's okay in the third iteration of your show to release of your series, the third version, months in,
Yeah.
6 months into it, whatever, to do this, because you know that it's going to be a big deal, and you know that people are watching and they're invested, and so going to Quantum Mania and going to Multiverse of Madness and all that, it's going to be a huge multiverse war.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And which side will Wanda come on? Maybe she'll be on Kang's side. Who knows?
Right.
Because which is interesting when you see the whole timeline splitting off into kind of like a whatever. You definitely see some red areas, like Nexus event type stuff.
Yes.
So you got to wonder if is that Wanda Maximoff right there? I don't know. Could be. Yeah.
Well, maybe
Kang,
Kang Unchained can offer Wanda. It's like, hey, I can give you Vision and your kids back, no problem.
Yeah, no problem. Here they are.
Same thing with everybody else. Like, hey, Doctor Strange, I can give you Tony Stark back, no problem. That kind of thing.
I can give you your hands back.
Yeah, exactly. I can make.
Which is
in fact, I can make you a surgeon and the Sorcerer Supreme. How about that, right?
Yeah,
so we can offer anything. There's variants for everything. So.
I don't know why. Every time I hear Sorcerer Supreme, I always think of pizza. Is that weird?
I'll take an extra large Sorcerer Supreme.
Sorcerer Supreme with extra cheese. Yeah. I don't know why. I'm sorry. I can't not help. I love pizza, so I can't. In fact, I'm having pizza and it's pretty soon today. So
now I'm gonna have to have pizza today. You're right.
I know. Well, that was my agenda for today. I was gonna do the show with you, and then I was gonna go have lots of pizza and beer, and then take a nap. That's pretty much my day. So.
Sounds like a great day, actually.
It is. Yeah. Well, naps are naps an integral part of my day now because I get tired. So,
and I do want to I do want to give extra shout out to Jonathan Majors. He was awesome. So
it'll be really. I'm curious, very curious to see the characterization he brings to the next version of Kang.
Yes,
because obviously it'll be much different.
Yeah,
this was sort of the trickster Kang or whatever. The whatever you want to call it, kind of like Loki in a way.
Well, a little crazy Kang because he's been by himself for a long time. So
that's true too. He's definitely a little crazy. He's just been him and Miss Minutes for millions of years.
Yeah.
So and that's probably one of the reasons. Like, thank God someone finally killed me because I was getting bored. But he wouldn't have let himself be killed. I mean, if there wasn't a larger agenda. I would be surprised if the real. I mean, I don't want to say Kang Prime or whatever was sort of like, you go do this. This is your job.
Yeah.
To stall and to get them separated and then to die, because there's plenty more of us. We're fine. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what he does with the character, especially if he's going to play multiple versions of the same character from Multiverse. That's going to be a real great acting challenge. And yeah, he was really good.
Yeah.
In this, I mean, they're all, and Sophia DiMartino and of course
everybody,
Tom Hiddleston. They're all good. I did miss Richard E. Grant. I'd like to see classic Loki again, and hopefully we will.
That would be awesome.
But yeah, I mean, it was a satisfying ending, but it couldn't have been a complete ending because they had to launch the second season.
Yeah.
They had to have the tag for that.
Yeah.
And and the larger MCU has to be serviced as well.
Yeah.
So you're never going to get closure, I guess is the word. Complete closure. It's never going to happen.
No,
so,
and I think that's okay.
So don't look for it. Because, yeah, it is. I mean, you have to buy into it. It's like you didn't get complete closure with WandaVision necessarily because Vision flew off. So where did he go?
Right.
Wanda's now the huge bad for another movie, and then you didn't get closure necessarily from Falcon and Winter Soldier because now he's Captain America. What's going to happen with that? I mean, that was probably the one. Well, that's probably the one that got the most closure. But then Bucky goes and gets a girlfriend. Maybe. Who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe. And so, is he still a killing machine, or is he more human now? I mean,
he's not a
what
Terminator
is his deal
anymore. Yeah.
He's not a Terminator anymore. Sidecar, railroad tracks, school, whatever. I don't remember the words to activate the Winter Soldier, but anyway,
blueberry.
I'm sorry, blueberry pie, pizza,
whatever. Yeah,
chocolate cake. Yeah,
nap.
I know sidecar was one of them. I think, but anyway.
But yeah, no, I think it's really good. I predict. I'm already going to predict kind of the beginning of season 2. I think Renslayer is going to team up with Loki to try to fix things, because she's like,
where do you think she went?
I don't know, but she took herself out of the equation. I think either before things changed or to make sure she didn't get wiped. And she said she wants to take revenge on. I think she feels at this point, obviously, her boss is not in play anymore, or at least the way she wants, and she's not going to get whatever it is he promised her. So now she's got to work against whoever the new king is, and I think she'll know that Loki isn't changed, and he's obviously someone that could be an ally, if not definitely not a friend, and I don't think he'll trust her.
Well, reluctant ally.
But I think that she's smart enough to go, hey, I need him on my side to help with this. So.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, she definitely got the fuck out before. Because Miss Minute said he thought this would be more interesting to you, more useful.
Yeah.
Which was, I'm gonna wipe everybody.
Yeah, and she's like, I gotta go.
Peace out.
Yep.
So it's funny how she's like, you're not dangerous to me, Mobius, at all.
Yeah.
And she just knocks him out. He's like, this is a familiar. I love Owen Wilson in the show, man.
He is great. He's great in this.
I'm familiar with being on my ass before. And then she's like, peace out, I'm out. And where does she go? I wonder if she goes to meet like the real Kang, I mean, I still feel like...
I don't think she's working for him anymore. I think she feels betrayed. Yeah.
Maybe. So I guess the real question is, did she know her history? Was she ever wiped, or did she retain her memories? I don't know.
I thought that was a great scene, though.
Yeah.
It's like
back in the high school.
Like, here's how I'm going to get the rank and file on my side. It's like, just look, and it's like, oh, okay, so it's all true. It is a lie. Nice.
Yeah. It's all true. It's a lie.
Yeah, exactly. No, that was. I thought that was smart on her side, and also a really great scene. So.
Yeah, and that was definitely a good way to do it. And then if you're talking about timeline-wise in the MCU, that was an interesting time too, because that was like right after the snap.
Right.
So I wonder what motivation Renslayer had to be coerced. Maybe Kang said, those people you lost, I can bring them back.
Yeah.
You can have them again. Because she probably lost people in the snap. Who knows? I mean, she was the school principal, I guess, maybe. They don't really say explicitly what she was, but she had an office, so maybe she was somebody important. But
that kind of brings up a whole huge thing. It's like, could Kang, if he wasn't the Kang that we saw in Loki, if he was free, could he have just brought everyone back from that had been snapped and negated the whole
there's one multiverse where they win, right?
Yeah.
There's one version where, or there's got to be versions where Thanos doesn't exist, or where something else happens to Thanos, the snap doesn't happen. So he could probably say, I could go to this reality and this multiverse and bring these people.
Yeah.
Sure. Absolutely. Who do you want? Who did you lose? I'll bring them back for you. No problem. I'll just travel to this multiverse and get them, because in some multiverses they exist and that snap never happened.
Yeah.
What if?
Yeah,
the snap would never happen?
And he's got, he's got some pretty good bargaining power, because like I can bring anyone back you've lost, or hey, maybe your life didn't go the way you want. I can fix that.
Like he said with Loki, you can kill Thanos.
Yeah,
you can rule.
Yeah, I mean that's probably
finally to
obviously how he has Renslayer working for him, and anyone else. It's like, hey, I'll give you the life you want.
Well, then that brings up the question: was she wiped, or was she had full knowledge of her history, and he was bribing her to say, to do his bidding, and then now she's like, well, this is all bullshit.
Yeah.
You didn't come through, or the whole thing's falling apart because the timeline's going to shit, and now what are we going to do? There's going to be a whole war. So she's not on board with the whole situation anymore. So I guess, that's season 2 of Information, and also Quantum Mania, and which is also a great title, by the way. And it reminds me of Quadrophenia, of course. And then Multiverse of Madness, and Spider-Man: Homecoming will also probably factor in, because that will explain how Doc Ock comes and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And the multiverse Spider-Man. I really do hope they bring back all of the Spider-Man.
That would be
from the movies.
So cool.
Tobey Maguire and the other guy, I can't remember his name. Shit. Anyway, you know who I'm talking about. It would be cool to see them all together.
I think. Tom Holland's who played that. Andrew Garfield.
Well, Andrew Garfield. Yeah, thank you. And Spider Pig and
Spider Pig is the best. Spider Ham. He's
you can get Spider Ham and Frog Thor.
Who would not read a comic book series called Peter Porker, the Spectacular Spider Ham? Come on.
Exactly.
And that was a good comic series. So. And by the way,
and Howard the Duck. You got to get Howard the Duck in there.
I'm still saying Pet Avengers. They could bring in Lockjaw and all that. So,
And Lockjaw, that's right. Lockjaw. Well, was that show canon though? I don't know if it was.
I don't know. But hey,
Because
so
you'll probably see Black Bolt at some point, I imagine.
they
right?
could have a new Loki or Lockjaw. So by the way, a little trivia too. Frog Thor or Throg, his little yelling in the previous episode was actually new voice work by Chris Hemsworth. So I thought that was kind of funny.
Chris Hemsworth, he seems like an accommodating sort.
Yeah,
of
they're
right?
just like, hey,
It's
can
I'll
you
just keep...
do some yelling and stuff? We want to put you in a frog version of Thor, and he was probably like, hell yeah, I'll do that.
Thank God, I wanted to play Tree, but Vin Diesel already plays him. So.
But yeah, no,
Tree.
I want to see more of Frog Thor. That was
well, you could totally do that. I mean, you could absolutely have a show. Maybe they'll do an animated show. And have you seen the sort of online sort of, I don't know, campaign, I guess is the word, where people are trying to get Marvel to do a Howard the Duck reboot with Leah Thompson directing?
That would be great. I'd watch that.
Which would be kind of interesting. Howard the Duck is canon in the MCU because he shows up in the Collectors. So he's there. He's really there.
Yep.
So you can definitely do it. But I don't know. Howard the Duck is one of those sort of anomaly movies from the past that people go, really, that was a thing? Yeah, it was absolutely.
Yes, it was.
And you should really get high and watch it.
Leah Thompson made out with a duck, so
she did. I think it was a movie that was, it was a hard sell because it's a comic book movie, but yet it's for kind of grown-ups, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know if they knew how to market it properly, or it just was a tough sell because grown-ups were like, I went and saw it. But yeah, it didn't know necessarily what kind of movie it was, and that's now I think you could do it because of Guardians of the Galaxy and everything with Groot and the technology and Rocket and everything. The technology is so much better. You could absolutely do it, and if Leah Thompson doesn't do it, James Gunn should do it.
Yeah, yeah, no, that would be great. That would be fun.
I would watch James Gunn's Howard the Duck all day.
Yes, I would.
No problem there.
Yes,
and I'm looking forward to The Suicide Squad too. Speaking of James Gunn,
yeah, that's coming up here pretty quick.
I'm also encouraged by the fact that he is sporting the white hair and white beard, so I don't feel so bad about having gray hair.
Yeah, me either. I'm like, oh, good, he stopped dyeing his hair and beard.
Of course, he's a very talented and successful, rich filmmaker, and I'm just some dude doing a podcast.
Yeah,
but still,
can't really see our hair color and beard, but that's okay.
No, my hair is gray. I'm salt and pepper.
Salt and pepper. So we have What If coming up, and then for the rest of 2021. Hawkeye and Ms. Marvel are on the cards, are being finished
right,
up.
and then Shang-Chi.
For movies, we got Shang-Chi,
Eternals. Okay, I keep saying Shang-Chi. Is it Shang-Chi?
I believe it's Shang-Chi. Yeah.
All right, I should really get to know how to pronounce things. I apologize.
No, me too.
That I'm terrible at pronouncing things. I'm just a dumb person who doesn't know anything.
I mean, as a kid, I called him Shang-Chi. So what do I know? Because I'm a dumb white guy. So
that's true.
So
that's right. I will try to improve.
Yes, absolutely. I will always strive to do better. I can promise you that. So
exactly. All right. So find the Flickcast at Stitcher and Apple Podcasts and Spotify and all those places you find shows. And find Joe and I on the socials at Joe is what Joe writes. I am Chris Yu, and of course at the Flickcast. And then check out the Patreon if you enjoy the show and want to throw the show a few bucks. Again, it doesn't make us rich. I'm already rich, so I don't care.
Yeah, I'm loaded. Who cares? I'm
loaded. Yeah, patreon.com/TheFlickcast. I'm independent. That's why I can afford to do this, because I don't need money.
Yeah.
But that would be cool. Or, rate the show.
Yes,
you don't have to give it a review. It takes like 2 seconds to go on the Apple Podcast app and click 5 stars. It takes 2 seconds, maybe 5 seconds. If you have an Apple device. If you don't, then I totally understand that you can't do that. But I think you can do it in iTunes. If you have iTunes on your Windows machine, on your PC, you can do that.
Yes.
If you would be so kind, we would appreciate it. I don't know exactly what it does, but it makes me feel better when I open it and go, oh, 4.9, that's awesome.
We're a 4.9 star rated podcast.
Yeah, it makes me feel good.
Yeah.
It makes me feel good inside.
Yes.
In my heart.
Gives me validation, so help us out.
It gives me validation, exactly. But we'll be back next week, and we'll have more discussions of things that you enjoy, that nerds love. But until then, I'm Chris Ulrich. That was the Flickcast. Thanks for listening.